As the wretched souls of the damned walk their masquerading in mortal forms, causing disarray wherever they roam, orc getters gather in an old decrepit Discord server talking about inconsequential topics. Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Venom Jubit, and today we've got ourselves an interesting topic. We'll be discussing horror games. Who better to talk about horror games than with the gigantic whore himself? Say hello, Silly Hog.
I'm a guest on this podcast. I'm glad to be back.
Mm-hmm. So we can get right into the topic. So I know that Six and Heroic Hits are a little bit iffy on this topic because they haven't played many horror games. But
Yeah.
what horror games have you played?
Heroicus, you can go first.
All right, let me pull up my notes here. So, well, shit, my notes are not showing up. Hang on.
While he's pulling that up, I can just rattle off the very few that I have.
Go ahead.
Until Dawn, that's the main one. If you want to count Batman Arkham Asylum, it's not a horror game per se, but it's, I guess, got a little bit of horror elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess if you want to count Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any zombie game is just automatically in the horror genre.
Yeah.
And let's see, I've played probably about 3 hours worth of The Last of Us.
Nice.
I mean, I've seen a playthrough of it, like back when it came out, but you know, I don't know, I wasn't that into it when I was actually playing it for myself.
I thought you played the whole thing at this
You know what?
point. You shredder.
Ironic. Like I said, I've seen an entire playthrough, like I've seen it from start to finish. Just, I don't know. The gameplay just didn't excite me or anything.
Wow.
Fair. It's fair.
I'm a little bit disappointed in that statement.
Well, you know what? I am a disappointment to a lot of people, so go fuck yourself.
That's
So,
what
Heroic,
happened.
what's your experience with horror games?
Well, same big one as 6 Foot, Until Dawn. Then I have played Last of Us and Last of Us 2. And I never completed it, but I did play Five Nights at Freddy's 1. I got to like I think I got to the 4th night, or I beat the 4th night at the very least. And then I just never got a chance to play it again.
Sully?
I love horror games, dude. I am a big fan of all kinds of horror games. And, I say all kinds because horror video games, that genre of video games has multiple subgenres, which I love, you know? But, and we can talk about that later. But I played, pretty much as I can think. I've dabbled at least in each series. I've done all kinds of stuff in the genre. What about you, Venom?
I would say that for me, I'm kind of average. I'm like in between not a lot, and then I'm like in between kind of a lot. I played Alien Isolation, FNAF 1, 2, 3, and the Pizza Simulator 1. And I've played Left 4 Dead 2. I've played a lot of zombie games in my time. I would say I've played a decent amount, but Alien Isolation is the one that stood out the most to me because that was probably one of the only games I stopped playing because it freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. That's a crazy, crazy game.
Wait, can I just interject real quick? I just have a question.
Yeah.
Wait, Venom, did you say Pizza Simulator?
Yeah, it's basically it's a FNAF game where you run this pizza house. But the thing is at night all the FNAF mechanics come out, and you have to like hide from the animatronics and shit. And then at the end, everything burns. The entire place burns with you in it. It's pretty nice.
I was just imagining like it's a simulator where you're working the night shift at a pizza place and you just get like the fucking all the degenerates of society coming in.
Oh my goodness.
Well, if you count animatronics that are trying to kill you as degenerates, you're kind of right.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to kind of get into some stuff. Get right into it. I mentioned how the horror genre of video games has multiple different subgenres. You of course have just regular horror, some like zombies, that kind of stuff. Action horror. Point and click games like Five Nights at Freddy's. And I think my favorite subgenre of horror is survival horror. I think that's the most sublime version of the horror genre in terms of video games.
Okay, now that you mentioned survival horror, I want to ask you now, does The Forest count? Does that fall under that? Okay, I can add that to my list.
Yeah.
That game's interesting.
I haven't played that one, but I heard it's good.
Dude, okay. Can I talk about it for a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's only really fun when you have friends to play it with, which it's like a couple of my friends got it and we're playing it together, and these are the kind of people, it's like we just fucking drink beer and play this game and just get into crazy shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, so there's like this different well, they're not really, they're like zombie cannibals, I guess. I'm not really sure what they are. They're cannibals.
Yeah,
and
they're
cannibals. Yeah, so it's like, you might find a weeb sword if you're lucky, but like otherwise you're just relying on like primitive tools to kill them.
Yeah.
Weeb sword.
Oh my goodness.
And if it basically, there's also, we call it the vagina monster.
Oh, what?
I beg your fucking pardon?
That's what we call it, because it just I'll pull up a picture of it. It's the six-legged abomination.
I know what you're talking about.
It's not an actual vagina, though.
Don't look this up, kids. Whoever is watching this podcast, please do not look this up.
Or you could look up just don't look up vagina monster.
You probably get a lot of different.
I wouldn't recommend. That sounds like a horrible thing to look up.
No, this is it. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
So just imagine that coming towards you, and all you have is like a spear.
Dude, that's gross.
And then there's those giant fucking blob guys.
I don't see the resemblance. I mean, there's clearly a butthole on that thing in place of a head, but
well, I think it started because one of us said it looks like Amy Schumer.
Oh. Whoa!
Ow!
Whoa!
I mean, I know nobody likes her, but like, damn, that looks nothing like her.
Are we going to include that image in the podcast?
I don't see a problem with it.
I mean, it's part of the game, so
it's for context, of course. And of course,
for sure.
Horror episode might as well.
Yeah.
And then there's and then it's like you get into the caves, and there are these little like zombified babies that you have to defeat. Let's just say, because I don't want to say kill babies, but you essentially are.
Yeah.
And then this is the final boss. Look at that fucker.
Oh man, that's pretty creepy. Yeah, that seems like a game. I want to pick that up at some point because that looks like a fun game.
Hold up here. So it's this weird spider thing. It just happens to have what appears to be a very pale naked woman just attached to it, or is it just supposed to be?
The reason for that is this isn't that much of a spoiler without the context, but there is this character that you encounter, and it's it essentially just you find this person but you find out they're corrupt, like they're actually a zombie cannibal thing, and it just all the like you see the arms or the legs, whatever they pop out of the chest, kind of like it was kind of like an alien, except a lot more grotesque looking.
So it just stuffs itself into that person and then pops
Yes,
out when that's
and then it's basically like fighting Doc Ock on steroids.
Yeah.
Here's a
That's
picture of that blob creature I was talking about.
Oh God.
oh
oh my.
Yeah, there's some fucking horrific looking things in the forest,
Yeah.
especially if you delve underground.
Oh
Yeah.
that's almost as hideous as the clog in Control.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that could be considered a horror game in a way. As yeah, I don't know what specific part of the genre it fits into, but like
yeah.
it's almost. I've only seen this recently, but it's almost. I wonder if it could be like possibly SCP inspired because there's all these objects of power within the game, and it's like, oh, they found a mailbox that causes people to have amnesia or something if they get too close to it, and stuff like that. So
New SCP is just a tape here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I think that brings up Hirokas, what you were talking about. It's an interesting point in the podcast that we could bring up is that a horror game, a game doesn't have a game that's not a horror game can have horror elements. Like the great Batman Arkham Asylum with the
Definitely.
and Arkham Knight to an extent with this with the Scarecrow stuff.
Yeah.
That's some great stuff, and the Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time with the Shadow Temple.
That's
Some great. That's a lot of the Zelda games actually have horror elements. Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, all that stuff.
Majora's Mask is just a straight up horror game, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a definite horror game.
Smiling at you? Yeah, that's some creepy ass shit, I tell you.
Oh, dude, yeah.
The thing is, it's like with Arkham Asylum, like my opinion on that is I feel like it is in the horror genre, but it's like a thriller. It's like an action thriller.
Yeah, it's like it's not like outright horror, but yeah, definitely horror elements. Like they deliberately made the asylum like unsettling and just very creepy, like including the Easter eggs. Like
It's a scary game.
like definitely one of the creepiest, in my opinion, creepiest Easter eggs is I forget which building it's in. I think it's the same building you fight Poison Ivy in. I'm not sure. And it's where the killer moth Easter egg is, and it's like you have to look like way up at the cave wall, and you just see like a fucking dead body like webbed up or something like that.
Wait, what? I have never
It's
encountered them.
it's one of the like Riddler riddles, I guess.
That game, I need to go back to that game. Honestly, I played all the other ones like pretty like decently recent. I would say, but that game, I remember when I first played that game. That game, first of all, made me appreciate Batman, and second of all, it was cool. It was scary. Everything, and not to say I didn't appreciate Batman beforehand, but that stuff in it is really cool.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
it really
there's
helps you.
Going down the hallway and like showing flashing back to his parents and stuff. That was cool.
Mhm. Oh yeah, definitely the scarecrow hallucinations are
Oh, dude.
Oh, that's straight up horror. When you're in the
That-
morgue, and your parents come out of the body bags.
Oh,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
it's so freaky, dude.
and then
It's weird. I did like all the Riddler shit in Arkham Asylum, and I don't remember that. It's just there's like hundreds of Riddler shit.
yeah, it's hard to remember. It's like when there's that many, it's hard to remember each and every one of them.
And then fucking Killer Croc's boss fight.
Oh yeah. Oh my
That was such a scary boss fight where he in the sewers and he comes through the walls. Oh, dude.
If you want your heart racing, play that on the hardest difficulty.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, where they don't have the counter thing on your above your head. Oh man,
dude, that'd make anyone's knees buckle.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so back to Control because I didn't get to finish talking.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I'll kill you after the podcast. Don't worry.
Well,
So
you
the
were going to
thing-
do it anyway.
The weird fat blob Venomsen I was referring to was so in the game there's several different entities you'll encounter, and the clog is one of them after you meet the janitor. And it's like you go into, I think it's kind of like a sewers type area, and basically it's this entity. It's coming in from a different dimension, and the janitor just refers to it as the clog because it literally just, you're in like this giant pipe basically slash sewer or whatever, and it will just completely fill that whole pipe and just keeps expanding until it clogs everything up. It is quite literally an interdimensional shit monster. So
my
it's
goodness.
just, I was just fucking dying laughing at that. The concept of that. It's like this big scary monster from some other dimension. It's gigantic shit.
It's
So-
a literal shitter.
And it's especially the janitor is supposed to be a Finnish character, so he has like a really thick accent, and how he introduces it as you like get over to the area, and like he's like a telepath or something, so he can tell what shit's going on here and there. So he literally says as you begin to encounter it, it's like, my old enemy, the clog, got to take care of that shit. I fucking lost it.
Wait, was
Oh,
he?
my
Did they specify if he was Russian?
I'm not doing the Finnish accent very well, but
It's Finnish.
he's-
Okay.
yeah. But his accent and just the concept of the creature, I just couldn't take it seriously. I was just laughing
That's
through that whole
hilarious.
segment.
That's a game I want to get.
yeah.
I want to try also.
You die, shit, monster.
I
looked
highly
it up.
recommend that game. It's fantastic. The gameplay is pretty fun. The story's great. It's got a twist near the end that'll just fuck you up.
It's hard.
While you were telling that you were talking about that, I looked it up, and Control is inspired by the SCP stuff, and you can really tell that by like the information you pick up, like
okay.
the notes that have like the redacted information.
Yeah,
like
I mean, to be fair, that's not like an SCP specific thing. Like that's in real documents in the real world. Like they'll just redact
like
shit.
CIA documents.
The only thing
to be inspired, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. The one thing I gotta say though, is I've been listening to some videos where someone reads out all the SCPs, and I just love how in some cases, like, oh, they'll redact someone's name or something, and like that makes sense, but there'll be other instances where they will say they'll go, okay, this thing was found in year 19, redacted. And then they'll refer to what year it is again later, and it's not redacted. Or there'll be stuff that's redacted, and like again, they quite literally will say it in other things. So like, why did you redact it here but not here? It's like, I mean, I know it's all fan fiction shit basically, but and I don't know if initially did like one person write the first so many of them, or was it all from the beginning, just random people get to do each one?
I'm pretty sure it was just like a group of people, and then they expanded.
Okay, so yeah, I just like, I don't know how they mess up doing that, or at least it seems that way, because there's some cases it just seems like they redact a piece of information and then they reveal it later on. So it's like there's no point to redact it in the first place. But yeah, whatever. I mean, you're gonna make mistakes, but it just seems like awfully consistent mistakes.
Yeah.
I think when they redact information like that, it's a really interesting storytelling technique, because the thing is like it's the reader's interpretation, and you have to use context clues to see like, oh, what is this thing they're redacting? It's good. It's good writing.
Yeah.
I played like
It,
the first 20. I played like the first 20 minutes of Control, and I forget why I stopped playing. But it's that was cool. Like when like there was like redacted information and stuff, and it like really like kind of let your imagination kind of roam a little bit. And it because in the beginning of that game, it's very you don't know much stuff about the universe.
Yeah.
yeah. Shit, what was I gonna say? Shit. You started talking and I lost. I don't know what the fuck I was gonna say.
Take your shirt off.
Huh?
You're gonna take your shirt off.
I'm not wearing a shirt.
Oh, good. Uh,
Can
so
your neighbors see you?
have you
No.
played SCP Containment Breach?
Speaking of horror.
Wow. Fuck you.
But
Yeah,
have you played Containment Breach? It's the SCP game where you get to like escape from all the SCPs and try to make it out alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should play that because it has a lot of SCPs.
Interesting. Oh, I think the closest thing to what I was gonna say was I gotta laugh at, and I was saying this before the podcast, and I keep making the joke. It's like you'll have one SCP that's like incredibly well written, like I believe it's the Black Shuck. It's like this wolf that it can phase through walls, and its other main thing is like if you look into its eyes, someone in your family will die within 1 year's time, like down to the second.
Nice.
And on the flip side, it'll be something stupid like, oh, this toaster, if it's not kept at 69 degrees constantly and in total darkness, everyone within 2 miles will spontaneously orgasm.
That doesn't sound so bad though.
Yeah, but like I think that could cause a lot of traffic accidents.
Traffic accidents as well as I'm just imagining like the nearby school or whatever. It's like you're just in science class and suddenly wait, does it affect women too?
It would affect everybody. Like I made this thing up. It's just an example of like on one hand they have something really well written, and on the other hand it's like something really stupid.
Okay. So I'm just imagining like a couple has sex, that it's like right before they begin. Right before they begin, they just orgasm and they're like, "Oh shit, okay, let's try this again later."
They're just like, "Holy shit, we're good."
Oh my goodness.
Or like I was saying, like in the middle of a class, like a school classroom, it's like everybody just fucking blows their load.
that would be quite embarrassing, actually.
That would be hectic.
Yeah.
It's like the Thanos snap, except more embarrassing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. So a big thing I was talking about was how some games have some games are not horror games clearly, but they have horror elements. One big example that I was thinking of, that Venom has brought up several times, not on this podcast, but beforehand, when we're just generally chatting in voice chat, is the Dead Money DLC of Fallout New Vegas.
Ooh.
That's an incredible DLC. That's one of my favorite DLCs of all time, and one of my favorite pieces of gaming of all time, because it's very psychologically it's very inspired by psychological horror. It's got a lot of great horror elements to it that I love.
Mm-hmm. Like with the radios and just what's really interesting is the Fallout universe. Everything's just like torn apart from nuclear war, but in Dead Money, you're essentially doing a heist where you're trying to get into this old world casino that's been closed for years and years since the bombs dropped.
Yeah.
And it's around this thick red mist that slowly kills you. But the people that survived were the workers who wore these hazmat suits, and because of the mist, they all went crazy, and those are the ghost people. And basically you can't kill them unless you dismember them. And there's a bunch of them, and they try and ambush you all the time.
Oh, those are so crazy.
Tricky as fuck. It's really interesting to see how it kind of goes from kind of being like you're this powerful player, you're doing all this shit, to you're running and hiding, ducking and diving from all these ghosts, trying to get your head blown off. I'm glad you brought that up because that is a really good example of like video game horror.
Yeah, it is. And it's not even New Vegas isn't even a horror game. It's like it's an RPG. It's a fun, funny RPG that's like known for its comedy. You wouldn't think that Dead Money, you wouldn't think that one of its DLCs dabbled in horror in one of the best ways that any video game ever has, but it does, and it does it really well. And the characters in Dead Money are great. Dean Domino, the bald headed lady, I forget her name. There's so many great aspects of Dead Money that just nail the horror element. It's almost a haunted house story kind of, except it's in an old casino. It's got a lot of great elements like that.
It's like an old house story, like you said, but mixed with a casino heist.
Yeah, it mixes up the Fallout formula and a more horror centric story in the best possible way. And I remember when I first played it, it's not only scary, it's hard. It's probably the hardest of all the DLCs for that game. And and I remember I was stuck on it for a good amount of time. But I absolutely loved it. And it was so scary, so well done. Probably the best DLC of all time. And just incredible. Great use of horror, even though it's not a horror game. That's just one of my favorites.
Moral of the story, everyone listening, play Fallout New Vegas.
Yes, play New Vegas. Just do it. It's a great game.
If you hear any crunching sounds, by the way, I'm like eating chips while we're recording. I hope you don't mind.
It's okay.
Didn't notice.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
Mm-hmm. So something that we wanted to save for a later part of this conversation, I feel like now is appropriate time to bring it up, since we're kind of bringing up the like Dead Money and how it's hard and you're basically so weak compared to all of these strong things that can like gang up on you and one punch you basically. Alien Isolation, similar thing to it. Alien Isolation, I have not fully played through that game, but what I played of it, it's so fucking hard.
Oh, dude, that goes back to what I was talking about, survival horror. That's a survival horror game, and that's definitely one of the best games I've ever played. So good, so scary, and what was so good about it was that it made something scarier than the alien, the friggin' working Joes.
That xenomorph is pretty fucking scary though.
Yeah, the xenomorph is scary. Like really scary because it can it can smell you. You have to be so quiet. But the androids, man, it's just those things with the red eyes and the way they talk and like the uncanny valley nature of them. That was the scariest part of the game for me.
And how they hardly die.
Oh, dude, you can't kill them. You can't. I think you can eventually. Like if you get a gun, like like some kind of gun or something. I haven't played it in a while, but yeah, it like you can't kill them. It like at least at first.
Hmm. And that's what's interesting about survival horror games is for the most part, what really makes horror is a feeling of weakness and helplessness.
Yeah.
That makes a really strong horror game ever. Like, and anyways, yeah. So, what other games are survival horrors that you played?
Of course, you know, I love Resident Evil. The Resident Evil games are fantastic. Resident Evil 2, the remake of Resident Evil 2 and 4 specifically. Not the remake of 4, that one's coming out, but the original 4 itself is great. And of course, the incredible, the so good Last of Us. That is survival horror.
Yeah,
That's one of the greatest games of all time.
It was
And
okay.
And of course its sequel.
If I may interject real quick,
what?
every time someone says horror, it sounds like whore.
Hmm.
Little Shop of Horrors.
uh,
Horror games.
but yeah, this
What were you talking about again, Slowly?
The Last of Us.
And
I
the one
kind of wanted,
before that.
and I said its sequel.
No,
Also,
something before that. You said before The
Oh.
Last of Us. You said something else.
before the Last of Us, I was talking about Resident Evil and
Oh,
how that's
Resident Evil. Yes, I have some experience with Resident Evil. I played the remake of the first one, didn't beat it, and I played a little bit of the fourth one. But I feel like Heroicus has something to say about this, especially about a very specific character.
Yes. I have not played any of the games yet. I'm waiting for a sale to go on. I want to get them like the first one, and go on. They're chronological, right?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
chronological.
Okay, so yeah, I want to start with the first one and then go. However, you can't talk about Resident Evil without mentioning the great meme of Lady Dimitrescu, or
Oh
Dimitrescu
man,
rather. That's how it's pronounced.
Vampire.
Dimitrescu,
My
yeah,
favorite.
it's great, man.
The internet has just fucking lost its shit over that. I love the memes. They're great fucking memes.
Great memes,
I don't
dude.
think I've seen a single meme with her. Do you mind showing me an example or two?
I don't
Um,
have any examples.
Well, that's
I
unfortunate.
can look one up. Hang on, let me find something. Something that's and we can put this in a podcast, of course, if we want. If it's, I'll find one that's actually safe for work and not crazy, because there's funny memes, but people have gone way overboard with it
Let's
too.
just interject some hardcore Lady Dimitrescu porn in the
Oh,
podcast.
No, I don't think we will.
Ourselves banned from YouTube.
yeah, but I mean, it is interesting how a horror character can become so huge on the internet, and and basically basically become, because not many people like now, like before that meme, Resident Evil is a popular series, but that got a lot of people into the series because of that, like thing, because of that, like you know crazy crazy uh you know crazy meme, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
I found something.
So if
I
you want to
found
make a good game, a good horror game, guys, add a big busty vampire woman that will love you.
Giant vampire mommy milkers.
Mm-hmm.
I
The
posted this.
So she's basically a giant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
and she's got a big ass. So like, if you stood up, you could like put your head in her ass or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's how you defeat her, actually, is you eat her ass.
Yeah.
I don't think you understand. I eat a lot of ass.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge it's a huge deal, you know. And the memes are kind of over now, but you know, there were a lot of great memes that came from it. You know, there was a lot of great internet humor that came from it. A lot of people. I haven't played the game yet, but you know, it seems like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Heroicus, I would definitely if you're going to start Resident Evil, I would definitely do the remake of 1, then the remake of 2, then 3, then
Yeah.
What's in-
Everything on my list is the remakes, or if it's not a
the
remake, I'm assuming it's
the
was
thing is
released recently enough that, it still looks good.
the thing is I would try to play the original version of 4 because it's fantastic. But because that's one of the greatest games of all time, Resident Evil 4. Because it looks great, you know, it for like early 2000s, but it plays great. It doesn't play like, you know, old tank controls like old Resident Evil. And it was just at the right time, you know, that came out, you know, to be fairly modern enough to uh, work as a modern game. And you know, it's really good. But I would try that if you can, the original one of that. And if they make a remake before it comes out, then yeah, obviously play that too.
What's interesting is there's actually one that takes place before the first one. It's called Resident Evil Zero. So
Yes, on GameCube.
1, 2, 3, and all the rest. That's the order
But
you need.
I think that one is only on GameCube though, so I don't think you can get it anywhere
Resident Evil
else.
Zero, I have it on my PlayStation 4.
Oh, it came out on 4? Nice.
Yeah, I think they remade it alongside the first one. I don't know. I could be wrong. They could have just ported it, but I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't played that one, but I've heard about it, and you know, I haven't played all of the Resident Evils. I'm not like the biggest expert on the series. You know, I played part of 1, I played all of 2. I played 7, 4. They're great, but and I would definitely suggest to anybody to play them because they're great. They're great survival horror games, and obviously another great series of survival horror is Silent Hill. Silent Hill 2 is one of the greatest games of all time, kind of like 4 of Resident Evil. That's a great game, you know, and made by Konami. You know, is a great survival horror game, very scary, kind of actually like it's actually really similar to Dead Money from New Vegas in
Interesting.
terms of, like there's like mist and people coming out of it and stuff. It's psychological horror. It's great.
I've seen the Silent Hill games being played. I've never played one myself, but they interest me.
Yeah.
They look interesting.
They need remakes honestly because the old ones are kind of pretty dated. But yeah, they're good.
A lot of
Um
old games need to be updated.
yeah, for sure. And you know, during that time of the internet, you know, like not the internet, during that time in gaming, you know, that stuff was considered to look great and play great, and some of that stuff does still, but you know, for a game like Silent Hill 2, you know, or even Resident Evil 2, that you kind of need to have better controls, better looks to convey that kind of great story, you know.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well,
But
it's
go ahead.
I was about to say it's been about an hour. We should probably wrap this up.
All right, so
Yeah.
let me do
I,
the outtake. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I've been Venom Jew Bear. That's been 6 Foot Piss Radius. That's been Heroicus. And that's been Sully Hawks.
I'm currently
See
pissing
you
my
in-
pants.
Oh, beautiful. See you guys in your nightmares. Mwah!
Mhm.